Let's look at some Excel basics. I'm going to follow along the presentation, which is posted on the site, and doing the same thing in Excel. Okay, so first of all, you're going to need a copy of Excel to work with, and this tells you the versions you can use either on Windows or on a Mac. Now, when you open Excel, and I've done that here, you get what's called a workbook. And a workbook is made up of sheets, or spreadsheets, and you can see the tabs here at the bottom, and I can switch to a different sheet. They all look the same, so it's hard to tell I'm switching, but this is how I do it. Now, I can actually give a sheet a name, so let's say I want to name this one. I'll click down here, double click, and name it, I don't know, my sheet. Okay. So now it has that name instead of sheet 1. And I can actually add more sheets right here by doing this. So now I have 4 sheets. Now, a lot of times you're going to do all your work on one sheet, but it's useful to know how to do multiple ones. And you might want to divide things up. So, for example, you have one for each month, or one for each person, or however your work is naturally divided up. Okay, now let's look at the controls. Those are at the top here, and Microsoft has gone to a new method. If you're used to menus, this is called the ribbon, and you can see all the things posted up here. This is the one you use most frequently, the home ribbon, and it has controls like cut, paste, copy. It has all your text controls, make things bold and italics, things for formatting, etc. And then there's a bunch of others, insert, layout, and we'll work with these as we go along. There's too many to go over right away, but they've all got really useful things on them. Okay, including the developer tab, which you have to go to a special effort to make it show up, and there's a separate presentation that shows you how to do that. Okay, so let's go back to the home tab here. There's also some little downward triangles like right here that can, well, this will show you things you can do. This gives you options. So like here, if I want to change the color of the font, here are all the options, and I got it by clicking this little down arrow. Okay, and this, these slides just go over this. Now let's look at the structure. So you can see that a spreadsheet is basically a grid of cells. The columns have names across the top, and those are letters. The rows have names down the side, and those are numbers. So if I select a cell, its name, meaning its row and column, will show up. So this is A1, C6, A13, F2, etc. And these show you some examples. Now if I want to put some data in here, I can just type in the cell. So 1,000, say, 200, it's 2,000. Name, text, I can put a date. And Excel recognizes those different kinds of data. So numbers, strings of characters, and dates are the most common ones that you're going to use. And let me just illustrate the formatting here. Make it bold, make it italics, etc. There's also a number formatting group. Let's pick a number. And you can see here, let's say I want to make it currency or a percent. It's kind of a huge percent. Move the decimal point, or change how many things are shown after the decimal point, etc. Okay. If I didn't want dollars, there's other currencies available. Now, The real power of Excel comes when you use formulas. And to make a formula, you have to start it with an equal sign. So here I'm going to put into, actually, let's just wipe out all this stuff in column A, clear all. And now I can start over. Let's put, say, 1,000 in my first spot here. And then here, I'm going to put equals. So I'm using a formula. I'll click here. That puts the A1 in, so I don't have to type it. And let's do A1 plus, say, 10. When I push return, there you have it. It did my formula. Now, suppose I copy this formula. So I'm going to click on here and do copy. So it's copying the contents, which is a formula. And now I'm going to paste. All right, it did something very interesting. So now it's showing you the contents of cell A3, which is the formula A2 plus 10. I had A1 plus 10. Here's A2 plus 10. If I paste again, I'm going to get A3 plus 10. So each time it's using the cell above as part of the formula. So this is what's called a relative name in Excel. Instead of keeping on using A1, it's going to use whatever the cell is right above the one I used, because that's when I used in my first formula. And this property of doing things relatively is usually what you want when you're working with a formula. Now, I've got a bunch of slides here that talk about this and relative names. Now, let's just try this. Let's put something in column E here. Let's say 200. And then I'm going to paste. I've still got that formula here, I think. We'll find out. Yikes. Let's try again. Going to copy and paste. And you can see it's adding 10, and what happened? It used the cell directly above, so it doesn't just work in column A. Wherever I'm going to paste that formula, it's going to use the cell directly above. Now, if I didn't want it to change, if I wanted an absolute name instead, I could do that. So let's say here, I want to make this formula so it'll always use A1. Well, then I just use dollar signs. $A, $1. Okay, and I'm going to put, say, 200 in here. And now I'm going to copy this formula and paste it over here. And see, it's using the 1,000, not the 200, because I used an absolute name in the formula. Okay. Now, the cool thing about formulas is that when you change the cells they depend on, the answers also change. And this lets you do all kinds of what-if scenarios using Excel. So suppose I, instead of 1,000 in here, I put 500. Okay. Everything that depended on that value, all these guys and this guy, automatically changed. So you can see how that works. There's other elaborations, and I give some versions in here. For example, suppose I always want to use column 1, but I want to use the corresponding row. Well, then I can make a formula, let's say I put it here, that instead of making both things absolute, it only makes the column absolute. Okay? So, those still look the same. Let's delete this. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it here. And you can see that I'm copying from column A, but it's instead of copying, so this is A1, A2, A3. It basically is using column A, but the corresponding row, it's one above, not column G. Now, you should do this and play with it till you really understand how it works. Try different numbers, try playing around, try making some formulas. You can actually give any cell you want to an absolute name as well. So let's say I want to call this something like root, because that's the root of my formula, or I don't know. Then if I use it in a formula, like let's say I say this equals this guy, see it's using the word root, I don't know, +1, it'll do it. Now that name root is always an absolute name. Names are nice. Making your own name up, if you want to make your formulas more readable, they can really help. So again, if you're new to Excel, open it up, try naming the worksheet, try creating some data, type some stuff in, make some formulas, use relative, use absolute, play around with it as much as you want until you really understand how it works, and that's the way you're going to learn it.